Hello. I'm up the tree. How are you? That's a good looking hat you got on. Very good. It's working. Your Viking horns aren't on there. I'm very well, thank you. And how are you? Yeah. Well, I saw something like that as well. Um, yeah, yeah, right. I have seen that before. Yeah, I know that's disturbing. Well, it fits in with the Sandy Hook Aurora shooting and all that, you know. Yeah, yeah. It takes the you have to realize that it's actually happening first before you let it sink in, because right away we oppose it when it doesn't fit into the blueprint with which we were indoctrinated with since consciousness. So once you get past that, you realize that everything's a psyop. Then it starts to make a lot more sense. Everything is a psyop. All information that reaches a significant audience is a psyop. That's why we don't get anywhere. That's why our group isn't growing. It's all maintained while they control the flow of information to the majority and they suppress the brutal truth. Yep, yep, yeah, Branson. The Kennedys were the Illuminati as well. Kennedy family's in there. Um, Possible. Yep, sure. I mean, they don't tend to, they sub out, like they keep work within the family. They keep it within the family. It's, you don't sub out all of the jobs. You want to keep people around, other people that are doing your dirty work for you, so you can make sure they're maintaining the objective, so that you know that they're complicit, and they're not going to all of a sudden wake up to it and go, oh my god, and start to talk amongst everybody else. So they embed their own members within the structure, so that they, as sensors, barometers, early detection systems. Yeah, 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 hmm, yeah, 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 Yeah. 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 Did she ever say that she has lumps in the roof of her mouth or wire sticking out of her throat or mouth? Does she have Morgellons? Yeah, well, I do, but I this is what I'm saying because I've had those same symptoms. But usually there's precursors like a sore throat, really sore throat sometimes at night. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that's typical. So will they write it off as a panic attack? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and it happens again. Why would they go after her? To keep you and her apart? Um, okay, so it's definitely the gas and not energy. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So, because it's often both or one or the other, there's binary components, like you saw them spraying a two-part system. Um, yeah, and I've seen that before myself. I've also had the pleasure of choking to death in the middle of the night, almost. Um, I don't go to the hospital anymore because they kill you there. They have teams in the hospitals like military industrial complex. Just picture criminals having a job in a prison or any institution. They have a criminal shift. And the good people can't do anything about it because they'll lose their jobs. So they don't really, and they don't really know, but one of them's in charge of administration or directing patients down a certain hallway. And once you get into that group, you're screwed. You'd be better off lying in the street bleeding to death. Um, so having faith in the medical system, knowing that it's the military industrial complex and that there's an intelligence community that basically like they've classified us and they're processing us with all these weaponized systems to go into their den of horrors is ludicrous. But she doesn't know that. Um, sounds like that's why it's happening too. She must have accessed certain information and started to go hard on it. And she's from the medical system. She's probably seen things herself. So she understands weaponized medicine. They try and terrorize people by closing their airways and choking them with food. Um, heart palpitations, arrhythmia, tachycardia, a cardiac arrest, um, stroke. migrainous infarction, shooting pains in the head, degenerative neurological changes. So like what's happening to Aiden, for instance, he's like those people that had that gibberish when they were news anchor people or TV personalities, and suddenly they were speaking gibberish on television. Do you remember that? Like Serene. Okay, well there's a post on my wall about Jesse Ventura's latest episode of Conspiracy Theory. It's about the Gwen Towers, and it's called Brain Invaders. And I write in there, I've written something that should accompany it, because he doesn't go all the way. He's just sort of half-truth, you know, soft activism, like what we talked about. Like why we have the Brutal Truth movement is because these guys with a significant audience, they don't go the whole distance, do they? He doesn't connect the grid to genocide, tyranny, technological enslavement, population reduction en masse right now as per NDAA. He doesn't say that stuff. Well, what the fuck is the point of saying half of it? So I know he's waking people up, and I appreciate that, and I'm not saying he's an agent, but there's a very strong possibility he's mind controlled. Well, not just that, being a governor, being a high-profile public person, there's also a very strong possibility he's an agent, like he's one of them, you know. They didn't call it the web or the net for nothing. They designed this whole system for us to classify and process ourselves, rather than having an insurmountable government effort to go around classifying and do, you know, the problems of social control on such a scale are a logistical nightmare unless you have us helping them. So they designed a system, the technotronic grid, which they use for us to network with one another and access certain information they've allowed us to see, and then to classify us insofar as our potential or viability as an activist, dissident, whistleblower, investigative journalist, or otherwise targeted individual, group, family, administration, organization, population, you know, army, whatever. So they have complete control. They're using complete control of the mind in a hive sort of format with HARP and the technotronic grid. And they're also using it to elicit electronic behavior modification, mind control, incapacitation and assassination, amongst other things, torture, you know, political, it's the domestic use of directed energies, weapons for political control. And they're perpetrating that through the grid, right? So what happens is when you have someone like Jesse Ventura is a high-profile person, he wouldn't keep a significant audience. Hi there. He wouldn't be able to maintain a significant audience if he was actually telling the brutal truth. He would be as censored as I am, right? Hi. Did you guys have fun? Yeah. Good. Good. What do you mean you're not done yet? They're bringing presents in. Hey, John.
I'm just going to drop them off on the way out.
Are you? Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Have fun. Dress warmly. Oh, yeah. It's a lovely shirt. The kids are just back there going shopping. Abby's got some Jägermeister voodoo.
No. it's elements.
Aiden's got a wind. Chicago Bulls. He's got, like, he's wearing the demon Illuminati symbolism on his head now. That's great. I see they've gotten him. There goes another. Oh my God. There goes another one. Oh, and he's got funny looking shoes that curl up in the toes like little elf shoes. With puffy stuff.
Velcro.
Velcro. Okay, yeah. See ya. Okay, that's my family. They just came in and they're leaving now. Making turkey soup because I didn't want it to go bad while I was talking to you, so I had to rush in and pick weird looking things out of the, you know. Oh yeah, post it all, yeah, for sure. I'm sorry I'm cooking turkey soup while we're doing it. I'll try and get the camera angle. It'll be like Martha Stewart. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a good angle. Okay, I'll go back by the fireside in a minute. But as soon as the turkey's in the pot here. So, yeah, it gives them a very obvious advantage, as they recognized right away when they discovered electronics. They recognized its potential and advantage, um, in conflict or political control or warfare at a very early stage. So they developed this system that goes right back to the Second World War and probably before it. Allegedly back to 1805, that's 207 years ago, Sir James Tilley, British tea merchant, alleged that the House of Lords and all political reporters in Great Britain were being controlled by something he referred to as an heirloom, A-I-R, loom, which from a basement nearby. So if mind control is a couple hundred years old, it's not that difficult to understand that, and they were using frequencies and microwave energy and targeting and controlling people, probably just with terrorization at that point, but it evolved. It's not that hard to understand that they're trying to manipulate our bodies and our minds to become a more efficient and predictable slave population, as written in Zbigniew Brzezinski's U.S. Foreign Policy Advisor, War Criminal, Shadow Government Frontman, and Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Project for a New American Century, etc. member Zbigniew Brzezinski wrote about in his book Between Two Ages, America's Role in the Technotronic Era, published in 1970. So over 40 years ago, and here it is happening. He's been an advisor to many wartime presidents since Carter, they're all wartime presidents after the Second World War, aren't they? And never one democracy came out of their peacekeeping efforts. Not one. In fact, there is no such thing as a democracy on earth. Never has been. So really it's illegitimate. It's like nation building is really empire building. Sort of like a continuum of imperialism or conquest. And what the colonialists did to us, to the indigenous population worldwide under colonialism, they're now doing to the surplus population, quote unquote, under globalism. So they've got this technotronic system with which they're using the advantage to control the masses with a hive mentality and frequency and stuff. And then there is also, it's complex. Like there's aerosol, electromagnetic, technotronic warfare. Sometimes it's just aerosol, chemical, or biological. Often it's chemical, biological, technotronic. So it's advanced biological warfare so they can control the individual and target people and make them sick while others are standing right beside them and don't feel a thing. They could do it to one person in a room of 70 people or 69 people in a room of 70 people and not the one person, as long as they have their biological signature. So the way they target us is through binary systems. And the way they lock onto us is our biological signature, which is usually established by binary code, which we breathed in through inhaling smart dust, and nanotechnology, and self-replicating nanobiopolymer chains, which are complex antenna arrays, like the one in the roof of my mouth. They can get that stuff to a point where it actually senses things that you're going to do because it's always learning. It's like you're not just a receiver receiving voice to skull or whatever, but you're also sending, like neural monitoring. So it's like the transhumanist agenda people are trying to describe and aren't doing a great job, in my opinion. It's based on just turning this into a transmitter-receiver group of individuals or a population of individuals that are all going to do predictable things with no identity, no personality, no ability to create or decide on their own. only what they let us do, like some paternal, satanic, paternal, technological entity. And we will be like gods. So there's a lot of it is in the Bible, but I don't really believe the story in the Bible as per se. I don't really think there's a lot of legitimacy. I think it's been manipulated for political purposes, is what I'm saying. It's not completely the answer. Nothing is. All science is propaganda. It's been completely neutered. You see what happens to the microbiologists, etc. You know, the missing and dead microbiologists, and anybody in an official capacity that blows the whistle, right? We see what happens to them. And if they're not killed, they're put on a program like the one we're on. I'm not sure how much that aerial thing with the spraying, the binary spraying system they pulled on you, I'm not sure how much of that is being used to control you as much as the area. It's an experiment. They've got a grid, a sector, upon which they might be controlling you through the grid, but that you happen to witness them dispersing an aerosol that was to be a part of another experiment or an application of advanced biological warfare, chemical warfare, who knows, And it always rotates. They've got a complexity to it, so it's so vast and so hard to break down and describe that most people would fail and be laughed out of the room, more importantly. That's how it's designed. You'll never get reasonable doubt in a court of law, especially one they control. No judge is going to believe in a conspiracy this large, as it comes at them from blindsides them, and they've been trained to ridicule or reject stuff like this instantly. The crazies with science, the conspiracy theorists, etc. Terms designed to prevent personal, public, and institutional analysis, like Noam Chomsky says. He only tells you half the truth, too. Jesse Ventura only tells you half the truth. Alex Jones tells you less than half the truth, but brings up some of the most major issues. But I think he steers clear of Zionism and Israel. He steers clear of the indigenous Holocaust to a degree, and genocide and torture and sexual experimentation, surgical experimentation, biowarfare, etc. He might do a show on it, but it's categorized into a bunch of older issues and not recycled and brought up again and again, while he continues to constantly do the left-right paradigm in front of you and get you to pay attention to the political paradigm, and avoids Israel and the Zionists, which are a very major component of the globalist conspiracy. Like the Rothschild Zionism is actually right at the front of it. And right up there with the bloodlines of the Illuminati, So if he's going to go and do that, he's misleading the majority because he's not telling them the whole deal. And anyway, he's still getting us all classified by going to his channel and watching it. You see how it works for them? When you actually tell the brutal truth about who it is and what they're doing and how bad it is and how fast we better react, they constantly steer the information so that they can control it to their advantage, so that they're using it to capture, classify, and process us wave after wave with medical pathology, whether it be physiological or psychological. They incapacitate us, so they can physically or mentally incapacitate us now. They can target anybody they want and decide whether or not they're going to live and die, when, where, by what. And it indicates that they have the potential to completely destroy and biotechnologically enslave humanity, so that each and every one person alive is put in a position where they're either going to die or lose their soul to stay alive. So Orson Welles, when he said a lot of people were going to hate the New World Order and die fighting it, he was absolutely right. Possibly he was one of them, serving his purpose, like George Orwell or Aldous Huxley. So they have this system that they use to to always, it's the system of social control, and it's very hard for people to accept that we're not important, and we have no rights. In fact, we're actually being used as guinea pigs at best, if not lab rats, and or we're on terminal experiments. People can't accept that. They just can't handle the truth. And at Christmas, I went around waking people up anyway. It didn't matter if it was a holiday season, because, if it was Jesus' birthday, and it wasn't, but if it was, he would have wanted us to do that because Jesus was an activist, right? Yeah, so we were doing the right thing by trying to wake people up to this. And I think the resistance is coming from the fact that the flow of information to the majority is always completely controlled by the agents of social control, so that we can never really get the truth out about all these things, and people are overwhelmed with information and led off in a different direction, which is why we formed the Brutal Truth movement. That you were attacked right away is not a surprise to me, and it's why I left you alone for so long. I saw you make a post one day, shortly afterward, which indicated that you were depressed and you weren't sure what to do, and I just backed off because I didn't want you killed. And I knew there would come a day where we would have this conversation. I wasn't sure how long it would be, right? But I knew that you would recover somewhat. And here you are. You see, you look great. And you've got new earphones. No biking horns, so you should take those horns. But they construe the. Yeah, I loved your hat. Yeah, from your icon picture when I met you on Facebook, you had these horns, on your biking helmet. Oh, do you? Well, so you look like you're in a house. So you've yeah. So you've moved out of the one thing, your mobile station, your battle station, and you're down in the in a better place, are you? Is it more comfortable and suitable? Well, that's very good. I don't know what to do with this cat food. Maybe hide it in the back or something. We've got a crisis. It just threw something at me. Okay, I'm gonna grab a coffee and come and sit with you at the fire, and then that's where we'll be. Yeah, perfect.